Three note cards. It's hard to believe with a title like Land of the Free that the United States could be the world leader in prison population. The American criminal justice system was originally created with the idea in mind of keeping communities safe, providing victims with reparations, and to help offenders leave prison rehabilitated. What that system has become today can only be described as an enormous failure to the country and its people. This issue is extremely important because it affects almost everyone in this country in some way or another, directly or indirectly. Currently, America holds nearly 5% of the world's population, while it holds nearly 20% of the world's prison population, making America the world leader in jailing. This is according to an ACLU.org website with the article titled "The Prison Crisis," retrieved on November 20th of this year. Numbers alone are not the only issue, though, as charges of being inefficient as a tool for rehabilitation have been levied against the system in recent years as well. This has been a topic that I've been very interested in for a while, so I feel very confident in being able to give you some insight on the problems plaguing the current system and what can be done to possibly repair it. So over the next 6 to 7 minutes, I'm going to go over the full scope of over-incarceration in America, how mental health and tough laws have played a role in creating this problem, and finally, what can be done to repair these issues. To begin, since the mid-1970s, the United States has seen a colossal boom in inmate population in its jails and prisons. Responding to increasing crime rates in the 1960s and 70s, the nation got tough on crime, stepping up policing, increasing arrests, and lengthening sentences, producing hordes of new inmates. In 1979, around the time that imprisonment rates began their sharp uptick, the Bureau of Justice Statistics estimated that around 314,000 people sat behind bars in the United States. As of mid-2013, that number stood at about 2 million, according to a July 2013 article titled "Responsible Prison Reform" on ncpa.org. This graph shown here from Vox.com from an article titled "How America Became the World Leader in Incarceration" does well to highlight how dramatic of a change that has been. But overpopulation is not the only problem facing America's prisons, though, as many critics have argued that the system is ineffective in meeting its stated goals as well. One of the original purposes of the justice system was to rehabilitate criminals so that they could re-enter society as self-sufficient and law-abiding citizens. But recent data has made it clear that the system is failing in this aspect. Studies done by the Bureau of Justice Statistics have found extremely high rates of recidivism among released prisoners. One study done from 2005 to 2010 tracked around 404,000 prisoners from 30 states after their release, and found that nearly 77% of those individuals were rearrested within 5 years, and of those prisoners, 56% were rearrested within the first year, according to a June 2014 article titled "Recidivism" on the Bureau of Justice Statistics website. Moving on, so now that we've seen the problem in depth, let's take a look at some of the causes of this problem. Though the causes are varying and numerous, the bulk of the problem can be attributed to policy changes within the United States. New laws like the draconian laws to fight the war on drugs saw citizens being jailed for a wider and wider array of offenses. New mandates like the minimum sentencing created a type of throw-away-the-key culture that led to longer and more vindictive prison sentences. Many critics also point to the deinstitutionalized movement of the 1980s as a major cause, where large treatment centers for mentally ill were shut down, leading to increased patients being thrown in prisons instead of receiving proper treatment. A study done on October 2014 on APA.org found that trends in deinstitutionalizing accounted for nearly 7% of prison population growth from 1980 to 2000. As mentioned before, the conditions of our prison may be also playing a role in this overpopulation being seen. The most compelling evidence to come forward in recent years suggests that harsh conditions in which inmates are subjected to while in prison may be one of the primary causes. In 2004, a pair of researchers from Yale and Brown released a study titled "Does Prison Harden Inmates?", which focused on post-release criminal activity and identified the effect of prison conditions on recidivism rates. By exploiting the assignment of security levels of federal prisoners, the researchers were able to conclude that harsher prison sentences were in fact associated with post-release criminality. The study also found that many education programs to assist inmates in becoming self-sufficient have not been widely used as they could be, and that many reentry programs to help them go back into society need major improving. Moving forward, now that we've seen the problem and some of its causes, let's take a look at what can be done about it. Becoming aware of the problem and becoming politically active in finding a solution is of utmost importance. Many of the solutions required to fix this issue need to be dealt with specifically with legislative and political action. With the cost of liberty being so high, advocating for the elimination of relics from the 1980s tough-on-crime movement would effectively reduce prison populations by tremendous amounts. Another major area touched on was that of our inability to deal with mental health in our country. Advocating for better local and state facilities in which to care for mentally ill patients would ensure that prisons were not being filled with patients who need psychological care and not incarceration. The conditions inside prisons also need to be better advocated for to keep prisoners from returning once they've been released. As mentioned before, many of the programs used to assist inmates in becoming self-sufficient and to re-enter society are not properly being utilized. Advocating for these types of programs would ensure that inmates have a better chance of not making it back to prison once they are out. With the combined efforts in many areas, billions of dollars could potentially be saved and thus be reinvested into crime prevention policies like police, school, and other re-entry programs. So let's review what we have learned about America's prisons problem and what can be done. We learned that America is the world leader in jailing its citizens, that tough-on-crime laws, mental illnesses, and many other factors are to blame, and that political activeness and advocating for better policies is the best way to deal with these glaring issues. So now it is up to you to advocate on a local and state and federal level to ensure that inmate overpopulation and recidivism are being properly dealt with. With more than 2 million citizens currently in prison and millions more in danger of recidivating, Americans on every side of the political spectrum should be able to come together and explore ways of reducing the prison population and provide the support needed to successfully rehabilitate inmates for the future. Thank you.